and it is not real.
Civil Arts. It was pretty. There's a pretty interesting buzz in the crowd here.
The thing I mainly liked about the movie was the transition between watching. Because at first we couldn't identify with the person because she seemed like almost a psychopath and like she couldn't feel anything. But then we saw that behind somebody that we associate with bad is actually a broken person, someone that was hurt. And I really like that transition, how it felt.
Yeah, I guess the key sentence, I guess, or phrase is "I am a whore." She says it at the beginning, and it's kind of like it's like when people joke around with each other and like they say you're a whore, but then all of a sudden she says that sentence in the first line, and all of a sudden she says it at the last line, and it's like it's got a whole different meaning now, right? Like we saw this journey of this person, kind of like having fun with these flings, and all of a sudden, okay, there's some layers here.
I thought it was a really interesting raw film. There were parts where I kind of just didn't even want to look at it. Like, oh, that's okay, I don't need to see that. My only, I guess, constructive criticism is I think you're right, there's a level of self-projection when people watch the films, they project their own life. And for myself, I'm of a very empowered mindset, and so what I would have liked to have seen more at the end is maybe some sort of lesson or hopefulness, or as opposed to just the message being, I was hurt, so I'm going to hurt someone else, and that's the end. I think there were a few things that could have been done to change the narrative so that maybe, for instance, as simple as, no, I'm not a whore, and then a more empowered way to end the film, or instead of putting a cigarette in the heart, maybe brushing it off and cradling it, or something. I just, that's the only thing that I would have liked. I think she did a great job in presenting the victim mentality. I just would have liked to see some sort of positive lesson from it, but my personal projection.
Yeah, I don't think that's a criticism. I think you're just looking more for a happy ending that sometimes doesn't. Like I'm being very general, right? Like you wanted something, you wanted the next chapter that she can learn from it.
Just to follow up on that, see the problem I had with that film is that there are a lot of men who believe that that is how women are and will not take away from that film, oh, there's a complicated history behind this. They'll just take away from that film, yes, that's the way women are. And that's why I agree, it needed something more so that she had some consciousness of who she was, and that she could actually be a different, better person, I guess.
I guess what I got from it, it's sort of like you can't walk anymore, you're crippled, and so you can't. Someone's like, oh, you can go heal yourself, go try to walk again, but it's like you can't walk anymore. It's done. And I think that's like being damaged. It's like some people get so damaged they can't. You want them to be empowered, and maybe we'll go to third row here. You want them to be empowered, but maybe they just can't do it. They don't have it in them anymore.
Back to the first movie we saw today, the refugee boy who refused to accept this balloon from a happy child and let it go. This girl here in that movie, for me, was the same crippled, as you said, soul, who is not over with her personal drama to start making small steps towards the good. So she was caught in that transition, you're right. But in the first cartoon, there was those trains at the very back, in the very end, right? So there was like little hope. And here, unfortunately, no. So that was a graphic movie, really beautifully done. A lot of passion was put into shooting it, but the message really is missing.
But at the same time, you're talking about the film, the gentleman right behind Mary. That's a boy. This is a woman. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's a difference between a boy and a woman.
Both kids. She was 12.
Go ahead, and we'll go to you.
I actually really like this film. I work in very dramatic field of social work, and the fact is, it's like you do not always see a person walk away from these situations empowered. I like that this film showed that there are people that we forget about, that we always seem to say, it's like, oh, you went through something bad, but you can find strength in this. And there are some people who fall through the cracks of those systems, and they can't always find that security. And like sometimes that ends in suicide, sometimes that ends in drug or sex addictions and that sort of thing. And that's what I really liked about this film, was that there are a lot of messages out there that show the empowerment of oppression, but not the reality that some people do still fall through those cracks. And as much as we love to see those messages of empowerment, the reality is they don't always exist in every story.
I love the way they melt underneath me. They never put up a fight.
I think those are my sentiments exactly, because it's very telling of the psychological traumas that rape and abuse victims go through. And in its rawness, it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody will be able to go through certain circumstances to overcome them. Some people internalize their emotions and they don't speak about it. So by her internalizing her emotion and her declaring at the end that she's a whore, I think it projects the idea, as he said, that not everybody gets the opportunity to come out and speak about the kind of horrors that they've been through, and they end up living with them, and this kind of defines their lifestyle. So I like the movie in the sense that it was very raw and it had like a very human touch. And even though the whole thing about empowerment is important, we still have to acknowledge that this is real life and this is what happens sometimes.